All
All
right,
right.
here we are. Here we are. Okay, hello and welcome to Conversations Worth Your While, a show in which I chat with really cool people about interesting topics to spark, inspire, and motivate personal and professional change. And I am Linda Bucher, a master life coach, author, and speaker, and I love helping smart, passionate people to lighten their load, unleash their gifts on the world, and live joyful, balanced lives. And today, I have the pleasure of being joined by Tricia Livermore, founder of Soul Business Advisor. Tricia is a heart-centered transformation coach whose mission is to bring more peace and harmony to the world. And one way that she does this is by guiding women to get out of their heads and into their hearts. And today, our topic is journeying back to self-worth. And this conversation is worth your while if until now you've lost yourself or lost your way, or you're living a life that doesn't resonate fully with you. And if you'd love to come home to your true self and live a life that feels purposeful, joyful, and free. And both Tricia and I have taken this all important journey back to self-worth. And today we're going to share our experiences with you so that you recognize that it's possible, because if we can do it, you can do it. And basically, we're going to share like what our journey was like. So maybe it won't be so scary when you understand what someone's journey was like. So we'll talk about where our personal journeys, where the actual answers to self-worth lie. And we'll talk about 4 stages of this journey back to self-worth. So hi, Tricia. Thank you for being my guest today. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. So let's just get right into it. Tell me, when you first were embarked, like what made you embark on this journey back to self-worth? Did you even know you were going on a journey? Like, how did it start?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. It started for me several years ago when I really found myself in a place of severe depression. I was unhappily married. I was in a pretty toxic environment in corporate America. And I just felt like my life was spiraling. I was having a lot of health issues. And it was not a good place for me to be. And as soon as my marriage abruptly ended, I realized I needed significant change. And I needed a way to live a life that was purposeful, that I could have the freedom and joy back in my life so that I could really just, take the bull by the horns and create what I wanted to create. So luckily, I was able to get a really great package with corporate America and left that. So I took about a year off after I was divorced, and I left corporate, really to do that inner work. So one of the things that I realized in this space is, as a child, I didn't learn self-regulation. I didn't understand how to process negative emotions, so to speak, right? I didn't understand like how to express anger and frustration and process it and to be able to turn it into a more positive emotion. And so I struggled that with my entire life. I would express myself and people would really get angry and really turned off by that. So one of the things that I really wanted to do is, how do I manage my emotions? How do I increase my personal resilience? And through that journey, I realized at some point that I really didn't love myself the way I wanted to love myself. So I found a lot of opportunities to really look within me, because one of the things I noticed is I was looking outside of myself. I was looking for the answers with other people. I was looking for them to fix me. And when I realized that, like, that was a really huge aha moment when I realized I was looking outside of myself for all of the answers.
Right. I have a similar parallel now. When I realized I needed to go on this journey within, I didn't realize that at first. At first, I was like, I am unhappy and gapingly unfulfilled. Is it my marriage? Because I wanted to blame all of it on my marriage, right? But that wasn't the truth, But is it me? like, or maybe it's both, and it turns out it's everything. But what I started with is looking for the answers somewhere else. Like, oh, let me buy a book. That's going to tell me what to do. What's next, what's right for me, what's next, what the issue is. And it cannot come from the outside. So I did waste some time asking other people, taking a poll, searching the want ads. Maybe my career is what's unfulfilling. What is it, And it wasn't the day I kind of woke up. I remember first of all, I actually declared it, and a declaration is so powerful. So for anyone listening, if you should join me in this declaration if it feels right. Okay. And my declaration was, and no one was home. I just said out loud to nobody. I said, I don't know what life I'm meant to be living, but it sure as hell ain't this one. This ain't it. And that was the point where I know I set the wheels of the universe in motion and the wheels within me in motion, that I was finally willing to do whatever it takes. I didn't know what it was going to take. And that's something we'll share with people today, but whatever it takes to like crack this code, because I'm all done being unhappy and unfulfilled. And whether the answer is in my marriage, in my career, or within me, or all of the above, I'm willing to do what it takes. And I actually had a lot of physical discomfort and issues, like serious issues, gallbladder, and back and neck muscles and intestinal and all sorts of stuff. And it's because I was living the wrong life. I was going the wrong way. But at the time, I didn't recognize that there was such a mind-body connection between when you're truly living in your own truth and you're truly happy and you truly know your worth. And once that happens, how the physical symptoms basically disappeared. I didn't even do anything physical to fix them. But what I did do is set the intention to go to do whatever it took, which happens to be going within, to make sure that I find happiness. And happiness had to do with fulfillment, had to do with good health and physically feeling good, because you can't be happy when you're physically feeling miserable all day as well. So, my journey is we probably went through the same internal journey, but like how we got to like, okay, what's it going to take? And my realization what about looking at the outside versus the inside, not understanding the inside, was I was asked to bullet point my life story, and I made a list. I just did a bullet point. And when I read it back, I was like, holy crap. If that's not like the victim sob story, I don't know what is. Like, what the heck? Do I really sound like that? And basically, I didn't walk around like Eeyore, like all mopey and sobby, but I walked around like with my fancy martyr crown on, like, ooh, look what I have to endure. And I had to endure this and this and this, kind of wearing it like a badge. And we all know people like that. I was one of those people. And I was like, oh, damn it. And then I recognized that is the victim's mentality, that someone or something outside of us has to change for us to be happy. And so part of my internal journey, what it brought me to wasn't only self-worth. That was kind of like the after thing, that when I kept doing it, the very beginning was my intention to go from victim to hero. Like, I don't want to be in Victimville anymore. I'm all done being in Victimville. So see, we each have these like precipitators, and they're all a little bit different for each of us. But regardless, the answer is going within. So the stages, like these are like off the top of my head, these stages that I kind of went through, and I'd love to hear your experience about them. The first stage of my journey was really about healing old wounds. Yeah, I'm gonna let you go first and talk about your experience with that.
Oh my God, that one's super powerful. A lot of my depression actually started with a situation I had with my mother. And it was a sense of rejection. And, then I felt like I was rejected by my husband, and then I felt like I was rejected by corporate America. And so it really took me some time to really understand that sense of rejection and healing some really old wounds from when I was really little, and what some things other people had said to me where I felt truly rejected. That, I think, was really the key aspect for me of understanding I'm rejecting myself, right?
Ah,
I'm rejecting myself. And once I started getting into that self-compassion and self-acceptance and learning to love myself exactly the way I was, even though, you always think, oh, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be better then. I'm going to be better when I do this and better then. But, honestly, we're all on this journey together, right? And there's an unlayering and unfolding of things that happen. So the more you can just let go of those layers, bring in that self-acceptance and really truly love yourself exactly the way you are in this moment, because you're always doing the best that you can do.
yeah.
Right. And then just really identify those old wounds that just keep coming up as triggers and really noticing them as they come up and getting underneath them.
Right. So yes, how do you heal old wounds? Very first thing is awareness. Become aware of your triggers and how they cause your interpretation of anything to fit that mold. So if you think you're always, I'm always under attack, then no matter what happens, you're going to think I'm under attack. So having that awareness of how you're interpreting things is really important. And another thing that really helped me to heal the old wounds beyond just that awareness is the understanding, like what you just mentioned. People like me and you, we're always doing the very best we can in any given moment with the emotion that we have at hand, right? Well, guess what? So is everybody else.
Yes.
So those old wounds that those people who are attacking us or rejecting us or criticizing us that have happened through our whole lives, all that stuff is not about me. It was about them.
Yes.
And that was a huge awareness. That was like a big opening, like, wait a minute, why am I wounded by something that really wasn't about me? That's part of the thing that degrades our perception of our self-worth, is believing that other people's anger, their words, their emotions, their actions mean something about us. And it doesn't. It has zero to do with us. The fact that they're freaking out over something is what's going on internal to them. It's their own wounds that we're seeing. So I like to explain to my clients that, people who are suffering are like wounded animals and they're cornered. And if you get too close into that corner, of course you're going to get scratched. What did you think was going to happen? You're going to get scratched or bit. You can back away and love that hurt animal, right, from afar. So you can't fix that for that person. It's the same thing. You can still be in a relationship or love someone, but when you understand that they're hurt and what they say isn't about you, it helps you to have more compassion. And one of the things you can do when you have more compassion with other people is you can have more compassion for yourself, which is huge. And that brings us into what you've already talked about, which is the second stage of our journey back to self-worth, which is cultivating that self-acceptance. So talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think for me, it was just acknowledging how I was feeling in any given moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's when you really become aware of those triggers. I could see myself on these calls with people and I could feel my trigger. And you can't necessarily respond in that moment. You just have to notice. But then, I would write it, I would jot it down, I would notate it. And then later in the day, when I had some time to reflect, really taking a look at, okay, it came up, and just accept the feeling that came up, right? Like, because so many of us just suppress it. Oh, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to hear, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to feel it. I don't know where it came from. But when you can just accept the feelings that are coming up for you in a given moment, then you can reflect back later, like, oh, where's that coming from? And I think that was also that journey of like, ooh, I was looking for something. I was looking for recognition from them. I was looking for approval from them, and I didn't get it, and I was triggered, right? Like, as an example. Right. So really just accepting, like, okay, it's okay to feel how I feel in this moment.
Right. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. Understanding yourself, right? That's it, that emotional intelligence piece. Like taking the time to look within and saying, okay, how did I react? What was really going on in me, right? Doing, looking at yourself before you throw it to somebody else. This is your problem, or your fault, right? And so that beginning of understanding exactly that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. There's a reason that this came up to trigger me. It's to let me know that I have this trigger. Wow, that's fascinating. I remember one time putting these little yellow sticky notes up all over the house so that I would see them. And it was to help me to have more self-acceptance and not judge what I was thinking about myself or how did I handle that situation and not judge the other person, right? And what I wrote on every single little sticky was, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I
It
love
was
that.
just for me to be a benevolent, curious observer of what was going on in me right now in this moment when I saw the note, whenever I saw the note. So I didn't wait until I was upset and then look at the note. It was just like all around the house all the time. Isn't that interesting? And so that helped me to just have compassion for myself and say, listen, it's just a thought, Linda. You don't need to grab onto it. This is what's happening right now. It's just interesting. No judgment needed. And that's part of cultivating the self-acceptance. And to understand that we're exactly who we are meant to be and exactly where we're meant to be in this moment. And it's a gift to get these opportunities for us to look within. This is a gift. So we get this opportunity. We say, wow, what's going on inside of me? So that's beautiful. A third stopping point or stage on our journey back to self-worth is healing. I'm going to call this healing your perception of self-worthiness. Now, hear me out. This is because worthiness in itself is not earnable or degradable. And I'll explain that in a little while. So, but I say this is why all we've really got to do is heal our perception of self-worthiness. And why this is such a beautiful thing is that if you've ever changed your mind on how you've seen anything ever, you've healed your perception. So if you can do it in any other way for any other thing, then you can do it when it comes to self-worth. So this is such a beautiful concept to understand. I'm going to let you share first, Tricia. How did you heal your perception of self-worthiness?
That's beautiful. Off the top of my head, the first thing that comes to mind is I did this visualization of my inner child. So I took a picture of myself at a really young age and really looked at my essence. What was the spark in my eyes in that picture? How do I remember feeling back in this form when I was really younger? And a very specific example came up as I remember going to the store, and I was pretty young, 6 or 7. It was several blocks away, and I found this dead bird and on the grass. And so I pulled a bunch of grass and I buried the bird in the grass and went to the corner store and got some candy. And on the way home, the bird was gone. I was like thinking, oh my gosh, God took the bird. Yay. I was so excited. And I was like, I just remember being so happy on this little journey that I had taken to the store. And recently I asked my dad, like, hey, why did you let me go to the store? We were like in a really busy area. And he's like, you did a lot of things you weren't supposed to do. And, so like that really, I remembered who I was at my core. I just had a lot of spirit and I was happy and I loved life and everything was beautiful and exciting. So that to me, like, I'm worthy of whatever happens to me, and I can create that worthiness within me. So that's what came up when you talked about that.
Nice, very nice. That's beautiful. The tool that I teach my clients, it's not really a tool. I guess it is a tool. It's a little conversation I have with them about worthiness. So my premise, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, is that worthiness in itself is non-degradable and non-earnable. You can't earn more of it. You can't degrade it. It just is. But how do you know that? Why should you believe me? So I ask my clients, I say, envision a newborn baby, very newborn. They do exactly 5 or 6 things: eat, sleep, pee, puke, poop, and cry. Yeah, that's 6 things. That's all they do. Are they earning their keep? No. Right? But how worthy, like percent-wise, are they of love and attention and affection? And everybody says 100%. 1,000%, 1,000,000,000%. They're so worthy of love and attention and affection. But I'm like, but they didn't do anything to earn it, right? No, they don't have to. Okay, let's fast forward to when that baby is a toddler. I remember one day when I had two of my three children, I was trying to get one into the car seat. He was a little, a baby. And my other one was a toddler running around like a maniac. And we're in a parking lot of a supermarket, right? So, my oldest thinks he's going to help mom by just going around the car and letting himself in the other side. I'm like, you're not going in this parking lot, but he decided to do that. So of course I got scared, right? So parents get scared when their toddlers do things that scare us. And so of course I raised my voice to him, right? And he was upset. Now, if you ask me, how worthy was he in that moment of doing something that scared the crap out of me? How worthy was he of love, attention, and affection? The answer would still be 100%, 1,000%, 1,000,000,000%, still. And then fast forward to another one of my children as a teenager, okay? And this teenager is, maybe a junior or senior in high school, somewhere around there. And you say something like, hey, I'm making so-and-so for dinner. You're going to be here? And then they blow up and freak out for who knows what reason, right? Like, I'm not going to effing eat with you, blah, blah, blah. Don't you know this is going on? And they're having a total freak out, right? How worthy is this teenager of love, attention, and affection? 100%, 1,000%, 1,000,000,000%. Of course, not degradable, right? So is it, and then if they did something nice for me, right? Did that make them more worthy? No, they can't earn it. They can't degrade it. So I'll ask a client, because I'm asking them about this with the children they know in their lives. I'm not using my children as an example. And so then they're understanding the concept on itself that, worthiness really doesn't have to do with behavior. It doesn't have to do with earning it. If you got good grades in school, or if you got promoted to a certain level at work, and it's not degradable when you do something, like out of line. You're still just as worthy. So that's how they understand the concept, is when you put it in terms of someone else. And then I say, so when did it change for you? When did you decide that you weren't 100, 1,000, a bazillion% worthy? And they can usually give me an age as a child. Yep. Because this is what happens when mom or dad or uncle or aunt or someone freaks out on you because they're scared because you ran out into traffic or something, right? Your interpretation is made with this mind that's not fully formed, right? Our brains aren't fully formed till we're like 25 years old. And then that cerebral cortex is like the last fully functioning part, which is our logic part, right? To really form. And so when a child is little and someone praises them, yay, good job. Oh my gosh, you stacked all these things, yay. That child, and this is not really a word, but it should be, we should put this in the dictionary, it's a verb, synonymize. They synonymize praise with love. And so when they're being praised, they feel loved. So they think it's the same thing. And so when they're feeling reprimanded, they feel unlovable. I'm not being loved right now. I'm being reprimanded. So that must mean I'm unlovable. And then because our brains are hardwired to not want to be wrong, egos don't like to be wrong. So if we believe that whenever we get reprimanded, it means we're unlovable, then no matter what happens, we get a bad grade, a friend, doesn't invite us to a party, whatever, it must be because I'm not enough. There's something wrong with me. I'm not lovable. And this is how our child's brain creates this perception of not being worthy. And so if we can understand where it comes from, then we can say, wait a minute, if worthiness is truly not earnable and truly not degradable, and it's just a perception that children have, and I was a child and my ego wanted to not be wrong. And so every time any piece of evidence came that seemed like reprimand in some way, it must mean I'm unlovable. This is how I got to have my perception of self-worthiness messed up. So it's just a perception problem. Oh, and there's that good news again. So that's the tool that I use that really begins to help people truly heal their perception of worth, of self-worth. And once they know this logically, that it's probably true. Now they've just got to get comfortable with it. They've just got to try it on, right? That's what we got to do with anything that's new for us. We've got to kind of try it on. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So our fourth, then once that happened, once really for me, when I understood this, worthiness is not degradable and not earnable, and it just is, then I stopped with that self-talk, like I'm good enough because. You can't put because on it. It's just I'm good enough, period. There's no because. Not because I earned it or because I'm a good friend or a great mom or, a helpful business partner. No, that's not why I'm good enough. I'm good enough because I exist, period. Like that infant. It's exactly the same thing. So then that brings me to the fourth stage of this journey back to self-worth is once you've healed your perception of self-worthiness and you try it on here and there, and you start thinking, even when I make the worst mistakes, even when I suck, I'm still worthy. Holy crap. Even though I don't know all the things I want to know to bring my business to where it is or to, have a relationship that I really want to have, right? Even though I'm still good enough, I'm still worthy. Wow. Once you really get comfortable with that, that's when you get to stage 4, which is really embracing unconditional self-love, pure unconditional self-love, and embracing, meaning it at a cellular level and there's no doubts about it. You just have this love. It's not about conceit. It's not about I'm all that, because there's no because, I'm all that. We are all that, but just because we are and not because of what we're doing. We don't need to brag and boast. We don't need to do all that. We just know that we're worthy of self-love, and we truly embrace that self-love, and then we let ourselves off the hook. And there's so much freedom in living that way, and all of our relationships flourish once we have self-worth and self-love, even if the other person on the other end of the relationship doesn't even know what we're doing and they haven't changed a bit. And that is the beauty of this. So can you tell me a little bit about how you've embraced unconditional self-love, Tricia?
Yeah, I think one of the aspects that really speaks to me in my journey is not only the self-awareness and the self-worth, but forgiveness. Right. So I really had to dig deep in forgiving myself for my own past behaviors towards others and even towards myself. And once I started learning how to forgive myself, I could forgive others. I could forgive other people at a soul level. I might not like their behavior, their human behavior, and I can put some boundaries around that, but I can still love them at the soul level and forgive them from that perspective. And when I went down that route with each of the person that I had been rejected by, I can say that without a doubt, I love the experiences that they brought me, because I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be in this place of unconditional love. And, it brought, my power back. I took my power back, because that's what happens when you want something from someone else, you're giving your power to them. Yes. I took it back. So, I stand in my authenticity. I have a life of ease and flow. I have greater abundance because of it. I've been able to manifest things pretty easily, just being in a higher vibration of unconditional self-love.
Beautiful, very beautiful. So I'm going to wrap it up right now for us. And then if you happen to be on Clubhouse listening live, anyone who wants to come up to the stage and talk can. Tricia, you can stay on as long as you want if you want to field some questions. I know we've got a couple of other people with their hands raised. So I'm going to invite Keith on the stage. And we'll just talk about a little bit more stuff as it comes up. But before I do, I just want to wrap up what we've been talking about right now. And say who we are in case you got to go. So I'm Linda Bucher, and I love helping smart, multi-passionate, high achievers to get out of their own way and unleash their potential so they can give their gifts to the world while living balanced lives. And up until now, you may have lost yourself or lost your way, or you may be living a life that doesn't resonate fully with you. And now that you've turned your focus to presence and to the possibility of self-worth, you should check out some free resources that Tricia and I have for you. I'm providing in the description of this video something called the Little Quiz for Going Big. And this simple quiz will provide immediate awareness and lead to enduring change. And Tricia, I know you have a gift for the audience. Can you tell us what that is as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm founder of Soul Business Advisor, and my purpose is helping women who feel stuck in self-sabotage quiet their inner critic for greater self-compassion, because my mission is to bring more peace and harmony to the world, as I did for myself. So I'm offering a free 30-minute Quiet the Inner Critic experience. And you can reach out directly to me on soulbusinessadvisor.com to book that consultation, that free experience.
Perfect. Beautiful. Thank you. And I'm going to put all of that information, the link to that in the description of our YouTube video. And once again, I'd like to thank you. And I'd like to invite the audience, I should say, not tell, invite our audience to make sure that this conversation is worth your while by fueling the spark that it ignited.